to an ELDOA practice for your hips and your lower back. We're going to begin in standing. So begin by finding your posture. Set your feet up so that they're hips width apart. Outer edges of your feet are parallel to one another. I'll turn to the side so you can see the alignment, the stacking of the joints. We're going to bend the knees and straighten them a few times. Bend and straighten. And then we're going to bend and hold. We're going to skip over the knee joint for a moment so that we can move to the pelvis, because it's a little easier to move the pelvis from an anterior to posterior tilt with the knees bent. So feel that full range of motion you have, your ability to move into this anterior tilt, which causes your back to arch. And then we do a posterior tilt, which pulls your two front hip bones back and lengthens or straightens and flattens the lower back. Do that a few more times. Try to do your posterior tilt without tightening your butt muscles. It's a lower ab movement. So engage the lower abs to zip the pubic bone up. Now instead of finding that strong posterior tilt, find neutral, where your pubic bone is parallel to the wall in front of you, sacrum is parallel to the wall behind. Hold that neutral alignment of the pelvis, then straighten your legs so that we've now stacked the ankles, the knees, and the hips joints one on top of the other. From there, we're going to lift through the side body as if we're just lifting our rib cage up and away from the earth. So we create length from the pelvis up to the armpits, but then also in the front body from your pubic bone all the way up to the top of the breastbone. And then we're going to lift and elongate through that lower back area all the way up. Okay. From there, we pull the tip of the chin back so that the base of the skull can lift up, crown of the head lifts to the sky. And now find some more width across your chest from the center of your breastbone all the way out to your collarbones. Open up. You'll feel the shoulder blades pull in and down as you do that. The arms hang effortlessly alongside your body. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the crown of the head reaching up as if it's pressing the clouds up, but then as you exhale, feel the soles of your feet pressing down. Take a few more breaths to connect with those two opposing actions, maybe even tapping on the crown of the head to encourage yourself to lift up even more. And now one hand on your chest, under your collarbones, one hand right at the bottom of the breastbone. Monitor your breath. So before we begin this practice of movement, we integrate awareness of our breath. That diaphragmatic breath is a deep breath. So it draws down. Feel like you're going to draw the breath down to the bottom of your breastbone as you inhale. And then as you exhale, the diaphragm relaxes and floats up. Inhale, diaphragm pulls down. Exhale, it floats up. Take a few more breaths there, continuing to grow tall with each breath. Once you feel that connection of breath and your posture, open your eyes. And now maintaining awareness of posture and breath, we're going to begin this practice. So staying tall, you're going to begin to roll your feet on the floor, waking the feet up in preparation for the march in place. Your feet bring information into the body, so we want to make sure that they're awake and ready to receive this information. And the more awake and ready they are, the more the rest of the body is able to respond to how your feet land on the earth. So let's pick up that pace. Now notice the fluidity of the movement here, right? Let me demonstrate from this way, a stiff movement like this. Begin to find the fluidity. And now as we're moving the ankle joint, we want to maintain our neutral pelvis so I don't drop back down into anterior. Maintain neutral pelvis, chin in, spine tall. I'm still pressing the clouds up with my crown. And now I'm going to let the arms swing freely. And that rolling of the foot then begins to turn into a march in place. So the feet roll effortlessly on the floor. They're relaxed. Knees are lifting up. Find ease through the sole of the foot. Find fluidity with the way it lands on the floor. First the toes, then you roll to the ball of the foot, and then the heel. If you've never really paid attention to how your foot lands on the earth, do it now. Okay, it's important. Helps you bring awareness to everyday life. Now in this marching position, I want you to do your anterior tilt, posterior tilt, anterior tilt, posterior tilt. We still keep the chin in. My crown is still reaching high. I'm not doing the chicken head up here. And now I'm going to have you pull into a posterior tilt and march in place with a strong posterior tilt. So it makes your spine straight, lumbar spine. Chin pulls in, crown to the sky. And now I tension the spine up so we create space. Maintain that strong posterior tilt. So we've got a flat lumbar as we march. Okay, this is not neutral anymore. This is not what you walk around in life with. It's just what we use for this practice. Bring awareness to your breath in through your nose, ideally out through your nose. Take your arms forward and back. Stretch your arms all the way out, pull all the way back. Okay, here's where we practice moving to our edges, right? I don't want to just stop here because I want to practice getting my arms all the way out. With that same idea, press your arms out to the side. Try to push your shoulders away from your neck as you press out. Arms overhead. And now as we've begun waving the arms around, as you lose awareness of your feet. Okay, so as we pump the arms overhead, go back to that rolling of the foot. Relax your ankle joint. Let the toes of one foot land first, then the ball of the foot, then the heel. And then notice as you lift the foot up, it reverses. The heel lifts first, the ball of the foot, and then the toe. So keep some awareness there. Keep your posterior tilt, your flat spine. Traction your spine, crown up, sit bones down, breathe. Last 15 seconds, pump those arms a little faster. Our goal here is to get the heart rate up, but manage your posture. Where's your pelvis, where's your spine? And that also means manage your breath. Okay, you're in charge of staying in control. 5 more seconds, 4, 3, take it back to a march in place, let your arms swing. I want you to continue to press the clouds up with your crown. Breathe, 5, 4, 3, hands on your hips, about 5 or 6 on each side, lift your knees higher than your waistband, and then take your knees high and wide. Okay, stay lifted, still pushing the clouds up with my crown so I don't shrink as I lift a leg. With that same idea, take your knees across your body. Can you keep your pelvis straight ahead? Good, then kick your heels back towards your butt. So as we do this, I'm still trying to maintain my straight spine. I don't want to do this, okay, because I lose that tractioning effect and I lose that tensioning in the fascia, which is really important for this work that we do together. Let's come back to a march in place and slowly bring it to stillness. Take a moment to find your posture again, okay? Just the same spot we began in moments ago, outer edges of your feet parallel. Soften your knees if your pubic bone up, find an anterior and posterior. Then find neutral. Straighten the legs, stacking ankles, knees, hips, lift through the side body, front body, back body. All the way up through the crown of your head, chin pulls in, broaden across your chest, shoulders pull in and down gently, arms hang freely. Breathe, close your eyes. Bring all that awareness you pull into the outside world, bring it internally. Feel your body from the inside. Rooting down equally into each foot. We're going to inhale, take the arms up to the sky. We're going to release the right arm down, taking a side bend to your right, holding over here. We don't want to be just limp here. We've got to reach up. This is part of this fascial training. Root down strongly into your left foot, chin in. Stay in your side bend, and 3 times we're going to lift the right arm up and then let it float back down. Notice my left arm stays very active here. I float up and I go back down. One more time, bring the arm up, come all the way up, rise tall, and take the other arm down, take a side bend to the other side, root down into that right foot, pull the chin in, and now float your left arm up and down a few times. Find your breath, okay? Be aware of that tendency to hold the breath. Bringing yourself all the way up, find your ELDOA arms, extend your wrists, press your palms to the sky. Now because we're working with an ELDOA, we're going to work with a straight spine, so lift that pubic bone even more, pull your belly back so your spine straightens. Now not only is the crown lifting the clouds up, but your palms are too, and my feet press the earth down without falling into my old pattern, right? I've got to work for this. Feel like you're pressing clouds up, pressing earth down with your feet. Find your breath, one more breath here. And then we're going to release the arms back down to the hips. Take your feet nice and wide. Turn your legs in, so there's an internal rotation of the hips. Knees bend. Okay, with your knees bent and your outer heels rooted, anterior and posterior tilting. Okay, can you keep the head on straight as you move from an anterior to a posterior tilt? Good, now come to neutral. We're going to do lateral flexion of your pelvis. So keeping maybe hands on your pelvis for awareness, lift your right hip and then your left hip, right and left. And if you can see yourself in the screen or in a mirror, try not to move your upper extremity. So if I were just watching your shoulders right now, they wouldn't move. That's it. Now from this place, just practicing similar movement, but a little differently, bring your feet back together. Okay, this time, lift your right hip and your left hip. Okay, practice the movement this way. Same idea. Your hands are on your shoulders. We don't want to lift the shoulders as we do this, and we want to continue to press the clouds up. There you go. 3, 2, 1. Take your feet wide again. So if either of those movements are challenging for you, I encourage you to do them on your own for both the health of your hips and your lower back. So we're back into that wide position where internally rotated knees are bent. Let's do an anterior tilt 3 times. And on that third one, hold your posterior tilt. Pull the chin in, traction up. Okay, think about those Chinese finger traps. When you pull out, there's a tension and there's a strength with that. It's exactly what we're doing here with your fascia. So as we create that tension, we create strength with that. Take your arms out to external rotation. Elbow creases up, arms above your shoulder joint. Press out through your palms. 3 more anterior to posterior tilts. And then we're gonna hold the posterior on the third. Keep reaching through your crown. Let's translate the spine to the right and come back to center. Make it small. Pelvis doesn't move, okay? I'm not there to watch you, okay, at all today. So it's really important that you are aware of your bodies. It's not gonna mean much to you if I see it and you can't feel it. It's important that you see if there's any shift and then you correct. That little correction that you make within this practice lends itself to you unwinding your patterns in your daily life. Same idea to the left side. Okay, so I could shrink and do this, okay, and actually what I feel here is compression in my hip and my lower back. But if I get really tall and do it, completely different effect. So play with those ideas on your own. Take that movement side to side. So this is a lateral translation of your lumbar spine. Really excellent for warming up your lower back. Find fluidity of movement. Pelvis doesn't move at all. Root down into your feet. We've still got a strong posterior tilt and we've still got a straight lumbar. Hold over on your right. Press your right hand down. Pull your chin in. Find that Chinese finger trap tension. Reach your left elbow up and then extend out through your left arm. Come up. Extend out. Come up. Here's 3. Don't forget to breathe. 2. Breath is still fluid through the nose. Last one. Come to center. Translate over your left hand down. Create that finger trap tension, reaching up and down at the same time. Chin in, right? We don't want to be here. Chin in, I elongate, and then I reach out through that right arm for 5. 4. Might work nice to inhale as you stretch into it. Exhale, release. Last one. And then we're going to come to center. Take your arms out. Open them up as wide as you can by pinching your shoulder blades together, but keep your pubic bones zipped up. Can you reach your arms back behind you without shrugging and without arching your back? As you exhale, do a posterior tilt. So you zip that pubic bone to navel even more and the arms come forward for a tree hugger. Repeat that one more time. Pause in neutral, this straight spine. Pass through that as you move into extension. Pubic bone lifts to the navel. Let's keep your gaze straight ahead. And then exhale, round your spine. Inhale, bring your arms straight up above your head. And just press the clouds up with your palms, chin in, straight spine. So we've still got pubic bone to navel. We're going to release the arms down. Okay, so taking this into a little bit more of a hip warm up. Pour your weight into your left leg. And we're gonna work with the right hip. So keeping your pelvis straight ahead, we've got a neutral pelvis. Maybe hands are on your pelvis to monitor. So we're not rotating the pelvis, we're rotating the hip joint where your femur comes up and meets the hip socket. So we're gonna internally and externally rotate. Okay, like you're doing the twist with that one leg. We don't want this to happen, okay? So it's important that you monitor and figure it out. If you're having trouble with it, plant your sacrum on the wall, same idea. So my pelvis stays on the wall. If I had pockets on my pants, little pockets stay anchored as I do internal and external rotation. Try the same thing on the other side. Okay, and this is a really good one to do at the wall because it's important that you maintain your neutral pelvis as you do this. If you're in an anterior tilt, your range of motion with rotation is going to be different because your pelvis is not in alignment. Your hip is not in alignment. So it's important, especially if you have hip issues, that you learn how to keep that neutral pelvis so that you can get freedom in your hip joint. Now taking the same idea, so it's still internal rotation and external rotation, but this time we're gonna move the pelvis and keep the femur stable. So pour your weight, let's pour the weight into the right leg first this time. Okay, we've been practicing this one all month, so I wanna make sure we review it again today. With a neutral pelvis, strong, tall spine, we're gonna rotate the body, the torso to the right. My big toes are in alignment and they're maybe like a width of my hand away from one another, right? Okay, I wanna rotate my pelvis to the right without arching my back. I keep my pubic bone up. Your right sit bone spreads here. Then you come back to neutral, the sit bone comes back into neutral. Do that a couple more times. Rotate torso to the right. My right knee is still pointing straight ahead. Okay, it's important that the knee doesn't move. Okay, and now try the opposite. Swing into external rotation of your right hip so that now your torso is pointing to the left. My knee is still pointing to the right. I don't want to let it do this. And I come to center. As we do this external rotation, the sit bone, your right sit bone in this case, pulls in towards your tailbone. But you don't drop your pelvis, right? You've got to work for this. Now try full range of motion. Internal rotation, torso points right. Your right sit bone spreads. Come back to neutral. Pull yourself into external rotation of that right hip. Heels are in line. Okay? Maintain neutral pelvis. Now initiate from your sit bone. Do a few more. Go smaller movement and initiate from here. This is a small muscle engaging activity. Micro movement dictates the macro. So you don't want to use your bigger muscles to crank around. You'll torque your knee or you'll torque your lower back. You want to move deep into the hip socket. So do a couple more there. Maintain your neutral. That's the biggest thing I have to remind myself of with this one. And as soon as I do, the freedom of mobility in my hip improves. Let's do the same thing on the other side, but before that, just walk around your space a little bit and see how that feels. So you can feel the difference in that hip joint. So it's important that you have some awareness of that internal and external rotation, but also what's happening with your sit bones, because I'm going to keep building on this. Repeating that exercise on the second side. So your left leg is your stance leg, kneecap stays straight ahead, neutral pelvis, tall spine. I rotate my torso to the left. Left kneecap stays straight. My pelvis rotates, my left sit bone pulls away from the sit bone. I come back to neutral, my sit bones are in neutral. Do that a few times. So I rotate around this axis, I rotate left. I've got internal rotation of my left hip, back to neutral. When there's an internal rotation of the hip, there's a spreading of that corresponding hip bone. Okay, second direction or external rotation, I'm going to rotate the torso to the right. My heels are in alignment, still about a palm's distance away from my front foot. And then I come back to neutral. External rotation means I pull the sit bone in towards my tailbone, and then I release it to come back to neutral. Practice full range of motion now. So you come to neutral, there's no gripping of the sit bones. Internal rotation, sit bones spread, there's a stretching of them. Back to neutral, no gripping. External rotation, sit bones pull in. So if you tend to be a person, continue with that movement, that likes to grip their butt, chances are you also grip your sit bones. So this internal rotation piece might be a little interesting for you. Okay? Do that a few more times. Initiate from the sit bone. It's a micro movement. One more round. Beautiful. Come back to neutral. Take your feet wide for a moment. Anterior, posterior for 3, 2, hold your neutral. Okay, make some circles with your hips. So big circles with your hips for 3. Can you keep the crown of the head reaching up? 2, so it maintains the center. Switch directions. That's it. Now we're going to do some figure 8s with your hips. So continuing in that direction, do 3 figure 8s in one direction. Keep the crown of the head reaching to the sky. Notice which direction you're going. Okay, if you're following me, we're going to pause, and the hips are going to go left, around, and to the right. Crown of the head reaching to the sky. Good movement for your lower back, but also for your hips. Coming back to center, that neutral. Let's do posterior, relax. Posterior, relax, posterior, and hold. Relax your butt. Step your feet together. Hold that posterior tilt, straight spine. Let's find our standing ELDOA one more time. Chin in. Stack the joints, ankles, knees, hips. Spine, shoulders, head. Inhale, arms up, extending your wrists. Lift the clouds with your palms. Press the earth down with your feet. Create that Chinese finger trap tension, reaching up and down at the same time. So when we do this, it requires less muscular strength and time. Creates more ease with the body. Take one more side bend to your left. Your right. Stretch that right arm out, come all the way up, let the left arm go down. And stretch that left arm out, come up. Now spinal fold. We want to start this from the top. So we don't want to just push the butt back as the first thing. It starts here, chin to chest.
And then I roll through the neck, my upper spine goes. And then I roll through the middle spine, the lower back, we bend the knees, bend the knees, bend the knees a lot. It's not a hamstring stretch for today. Get to the bottom, root into your heels, and then pause for a moment. Can you relax the back of the neck a little bit more? Root into your heels like they're growing roots into the earth, and now start cranking those sit bones into a strong posterior tilt. So we tension out, stretching through the lower back fascia. Pull the hips forward. So now my ankles, my knees, my hips are in line. Now my ribs are on top of the pelvis. At that point, my shoulders roll back and down. I grow tall. One more time, just like that, dropping your chin to chest, that nodding action. Shoulders roll forward. Breastbone buries into the body. I relax my arms, pausing when your wrists are at your knees. I want you to swing forward and back with your arms. Let them be effortless. Okay, find that gentle swinging of the arms and relax your upper body. Find your breath. And allow that swinging of the arms to facilitate a continual roll down until you feel your fingertips on the floor. And at that point, we'll pause. Widen the base so the feet go wider. Bend your knees, root into your heels. Allow your knees to bend enough so that your rib cage has a space to rest on your thighs. And then we release the upper body over the thighs. We pause, we breathe. If your hands don't touch the floor, grab yoga bricks. Place your hands on bricks, a chair, a wall, a stair. You're going to keep your fingers on the floor. Okay, some of you might be able to go flat. Some of you might be fingertips like I'm here. And we're going to just drop the butt down, spread your sit bones. That's the focus point. Lift up, spread the sit bones. Good, drop your butt down. Can you keep those sit bones spreading? Lift your sit bones up, spread them more. Don't even worry about straightening your legs. One more time, drop your sit bones down, spread them, drop down into a deep squat. Elbows press out into knees, we lift through the collarbones. If this isn't comfortable for you, you come right down into seated, soles of the feet together for an inner thigh stretch, that cobbler's pose. Shin in, now find that tension, reach up through crown, root the sit bones and spread them. And then pause, releasing that action, reach your arms forward, take 3 breaths, draw the breath down your back body, as if you're breathing with your kidneys. As you exhale, let your pelvis sink, and as you inhale, continually reach the arms forward so that the rib cage moves forward. And coming down now onto all fours, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and let's go ahead and move into some cat and cow, so flexion and extension. Let's go ahead and just move through there. Find your breath and make sure that there's fluidity around that. The next time you find yourself in flexion, hold. Walk your knees back about 6 inches, creating that tension, reaching out through your arms and back through your hips at the same time. Do a very strong posterior tilt. For the cat wave, remember we create space between the belly and the thighs, and we hold that as long as we can. I'm still trying to create space between my belly and my thighs, and then at the very last moment, I release it. I do an anterior tilt. It spreads my sit bones, it flattens my back. And then I inhale, come forward, repeat. Strong flexion of the spine. When you get about halfway back, pause. Can you reach into your arms more and then do more posterior tilt? I encourage you to go slower for this one. You're going to get more out of that when you do it slower. At the end range, you release the tension by finding an anterior tilt, sit bones spread, spine straightens. One more time, come forward with a straight spine. Strong flexion of the spine. Use the strength of your arms to reach forward. Use your belly muscles to pull the spine back. With that posterior tilt, you can use your glutes now. Release your tension at end range, anterior tilt. Pause in child's pose, find your breath. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. Relax your face. Relax your lower back. Just come into a moment of stillness, moment of rest. Your next inhale, roll your spine up, hands on your hips, growing nice and tall. We're going to do a hip hinge and come up for 3, Okay, tall spine. I'm in my neutral pelvis as I do this. My belly is pulling back to support my spine. Okay, on your next one, we hinge down, but now we're going to roll up. So you hinge, start with that strong posterior tilt, do 3 slow rolls up. So hinge, I just place my hips back. Do a posterior tilt and rolling up. One more time, hinge. As you hinge, your sit bones spread. Your belly stays lifted, contains your spine. Then you start a posterior tilt. The sit bones pull together and you roll up. 3 more times, hinge. Feel what's happening at your sit bones. So when we hinge at the hips, the sit bones spread. And when we do that posterior tilt, they pull in. One more time, hinge, sit bones spread. We come up, sit bones pull together, we roll up. You got it. So now from here, let's hinge, bring your hands to the floor, slide your right knee forward so the right knee is right behind your right wrist. You're sitting on your right heel. You're going to extend your left leg back. Okay, if you have bricks handy, this is a nice one to do with your hands on bricks. So from this position, hands on your bricks, you're going to exhale, round into flexion. Inhale, release the spine into extension. Do your best to keep your arms straight here. So we exhale, round. Here's where I want to do a strong posterior tilt. Pull my belly away from the floor. Use the strength of the arms to move my body away from the floor. And then I inhale, release the tension, and I sink into the space. One more time, exhale, rounding into flexion. Inhale, release, lift into extension. Stretch those left toes back a little bit more. Second piece to this stretch, you keep your right leg forward. You're going to pull your left leg, your back leg forward, and you're going to tuck it on the outside of your right leg. Okay, so we've got the legs in that ladylike cross, right legs on top. Bring your hands forward about 6 inches, and we're just going to push back towards a child's pose. I call this the twisted child's pose. Okay, so I press back. Now, what I would love for you to focus in on is a slower movement. And as you're pressing back, do an anterior tilt and spread your sit bones. Avoid the tendency to do this. Okay, so because we did that before, let's play with both those movements so you can see the effect. If you flex your spine and go back, it's more of a spine stretch, not so much hips. But because we already did that with the cat wave, I want to get into your hips and your sit bones more, so I want you to do an anterior tilt. Press back, maintain that anterior tilt. Don't go into posterior because it changes the relationship. That's it. Now we're going to keep the legs twisted, curl your toes under, come into a downward facing dog. Maybe narrow your stance, do what feels good for you. Just take a few breaths here, try to press both sit bones back, and yes. Continue to spread your sit bones. And then inhale, exhale, uncrossing the legs, come into a balanced downward dog. Press into palms, reach back into hips, find your breath. Release some tension around your breath. Remember, if downward dog is not comfortable for you, sorry about that, your child's pose is always an option. Practicing that sequence on the other side. You release down onto all fours. Pull the left knee in so it's behind your left wrist. You're sitting on your left sit bone, right leg stretches out. Okay, again, yoga bricks come in handy here, but instead of that, I'm just going to use my fingertips this time. So it gets a little more space, you get a little more out of it. So we're going to do a posterior tilt, round the spine, like you're scooping out the belly. Really activate your belly muscles. Notice how I'm rounding back here. Gives me a nice stretch sensation through the front of my right hip and belly. And then I release the spine down, coming to extension. Here it's nice to just stretch back into your right toes a little bit more. Do that 2 more times. Exhale, rounding into flexion. Inhale, release into extension. Last one, round into flexion and hold. Find your breath. Pull the belly to the spine even more. And then release that tension. Slide your right leg forward so it's behind your left leg into the outside. So you're in a ladylike cross of your legs. Arms may need to come forward a little bit. And just press forward and back a few times without thinking about it. Notice what your chosen path is, meaning what does your pelvis do? Do you lean more towards an anterior tilt or a posterior tilt?
Then do a posterior tilt and push back so you can see what it feels like. It does feel good. But I want to focus on your hips. So I want you to do an anterior tilt, so your sit bones spread as you push back. And then I hold that anterior tilt, come forward. Try to do it a little bit more. I push my hips back. And then I release some tension, come forward. One more time, anterior tilt, press back, spread those sit bones. Beautiful, keep the legs crossed like that, curl your toes under, find a downward dog. Might be a little different on this side. So go slowly into it. Do your best to root your heels, anterior tilt, spread your sit bones. Okay, if you're feeling some tension in your calves, greet it gently. Okay, rather than curse about it, say, okay, maybe I need to spend a little more time doing postures like this to open those areas of the body. And cross the legs, come into your balanced dog. Take your feet nice and wide, turn your toes in. Bend your knees, do a really strong anterior tilt, spread your sit bones, and then see if you can reach your heels to the outer edges of your mat, maintaining those actions. Breathe. Releasing the knees down to the floor, take one cat wave, so it's strong flexion of the spine, go all the way back into a wide leg child's pose, coming into a resting posture for just a moment before we transition into our ELDOA practice. So as you're resting in your child's pose, relax your jaw, relax the muscles of your face and your shoulders, and invite some ease to your breath. Okay, so the ELDOA practice can be very challenging, but if we keep an ease of the breath, it's challenging, but it's nurturing at the same time. Okay, when we hold the breath or we create tension around the breath, it's a little more stressful than it needs to be. So take 3 more breaths here. Relax your jaw and your face. Try to make your breath a little quieter so you can barely hear it. Okay, so that way we'll maintain that idea even as we move into the ELDOA and things get a little challenging. So when you're ready, you're going to roll yourself up into a seated position. And let's just move it into a little bit of sit bone walking first, because we reviewed this earlier in the month and I want to make sure we have this again because it was valuable for a few of you for SI joint issues. So we're going to start with a nice tall posture, finding axial extension. Your sit bones root down as if they're holding your mat down on the earth. The crown of the head is pressing up as if it's holding the ceiling up. My spine is straight because I'm working towards this ELDOA work. I want you to have a straight spine. Your gaze point's going to be on the floor about 5 feet in front of you. Let your eyes drop down there, but don't let the head drop forward. You want to keep that retraction. And now from this position, maintaining a tall spine, you can bring your hands out to beside you for support if you'd like, or your hands are at your chest. Pick your left sit bone up, move it forward, and then your right sit bone. Left, right. It's a tiny movement. Your sit bones don't move a lot. So if it's really big, it means you're cheating and using extra muscles. You're going to move forward on your back, on your mat, and I want you to try to keep the straight spine. That means you're not dropping into this to do it. Straight, okay? That's it. Now pause, go backward, okay? If you're on a sticky mat, you might have to move off the mat. Okay? It's a little easier when you're on a slidey surface. And we go back, okay? Now, once we get to the back, let's do 3 more. Here's 3, 2, hold in the back. When you're in the back, arms come out beside you. Take your feet wide. Keep your spine tall. We're still working axial extension. Roll your left leg in. Lift your chest. Can you keep your left sit bone spreading as your left hip rolls into internal rotation? Bring that leg up. Let your right leg move to internal rotation. It's not important that your knee touches the floor. That is not the goal. Your goal is that your pelvis stays on the floor, so that sit bone stays on the floor and it moves to your right, which creates this easeful release of your right hip. Bring yourself back up, 1 more on each side, pelvis stays rooted. We internally rotate the hip, maintain the spine, and come back up. 1 more time to the other side. Good, coming back up, sit bone walks again. This time I'm going to demonstrate from here and add the progression. You could straighten the legs. but we still honor the spine. This is a good view because I don't want to see the body shifting side to side. So here we go. There's 1, 2. Okay, if this is too much for you, you go back to where we were. Otherwise, legs are straight and I slide one sit bone forward and then the other. Trying to limit this lateral translation of my body like this. So just straight ahead. Here's 3. Arms can be supporting you here if you need the help with the spine, or the progression is hands here. Now back it up. 1 sit bone and then the other. 1 sit bone and then the other. Maintain tall spine. Make sure you're breathing. This is a really good way to get blood pumping into your SI joints. Okay, that's your sacrum, where your sacrum meets your pelvis. 3 and 2 and 1. Stay tall with your spine. Hands come back behind you. Bend your knees with feet and knees together. This time go side to side. So instead of letting one leg drop over, just let the legs slide on one another over, and then back to center. Stay lifted through your chest, chin in, crown and sky, so we're not sinking. Think about this whole hour together as a practice in your posture. You can get slumpy in about 10 minutes. Coming back to center, bring the soles of your feet together. Not super close to your body, okay? Maybe at least 2 hand widths away. Bring the soles of the feet together, spread your sit bones, find your straight spine. Straight lumbar. This is an ELDOA, so I want a straight spine, not that neutral or slight anterior tilt that you would do for cobbler's pose in yoga. It's not the same, okay? So press your feet together, but push your knees away from one another. Maybe tapping on your knees. Yes, and now I want you to push your fingers away from you. So you're reaching the legs, the femur bones out of the body. You're pressing into knees. So this creates some space deep into the pelvis. We keep that tension. I'm pushing the clouds up with my crown, and I'm still pressing the sit bones down and holding my mat down. But my knees are still pressing laterally. I'm not pushing them down. It's more that I want to pull the 2 sides of the pelvis apart to create space. Keeping the chin in, tap on the crown of the head, lift the clouds a little bit more. Good, now the arms are gonna find that ELDOA position with external rotation of the shoulder. Extend the wrist, press your palms forward. Now that you've got the posture, pull the chin in, drop your gaze down so it's about 5 feet on the floor in front of you. Holding this for about another 30 seconds or so. Can you push your knees wider? Good, now pull your abdominal wall back but get tall. That's it, so that your spine is straight. If you need to, bring a hand back and feel, is your lumbar spine straight? Okay, we don't want to have it flexed. That's not straight. This is also not straight. It's not going to create an ELDOA effect. We need straight to create this ELDOA effect. Oh yeah, and you need to breathe. So breathe in through your nose, push your knees wide, breathe out through your nose, press your knees wide. Good, breathe in through your nose, reach your crown up, breathe out through your nose, press your crown up. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. One more breath. Good, stay tall with your spine, bring your hands under your knees, bring the knees together, hands back behind you. Let the legs scissor back and forth so they stay together, but we slide the inner thighs on one another. Okay, scissoring through that pubic bone area where we just worked with that ELDOA. Beautiful. Coming back up to neutral. We're going to extend the legs out in front of us, working on our L2, L3 ELDOA. So for this one, we're going to take the legs wide, and we're going to bring the hands back behind us for support if needed. If your hip flexors are really tight here, just sit on a blanket, especially if it's just happening on one side. Oftentimes just elevating a little bit is really helpful. So spread the sit bones. Okay, pull the chin in, reach the crown up, keeping your pelvis stable, keeping your spine stationary. Roll your legs in and out. So internal and external rotation. And this is a good place to work at first because it's going to help you determine where should your legs be. Meaning, if I'm too wide, it limits my range of motion. And right now I feel like I'm limited in my external rotation, so I'm going to bring my legs in a little closer. Yeah. Pelvis doesn't move, so your sit bones are a great awareness point. If you put your fingers on your sit bones, they don't move. It's your hip joint where your femur comes in and meets your pelvis. That's where we're moving. We're not moving your pelvis itself. Now roll into internal rotation, so your kneecaps are in, your outer knee creases point out. Keep your hands on the floor, lifting your spine. Now continue to spread your sit bones. Pull your toes back to your pubic bone. Keep rooting your sit bones, keep reaching through your crown. Now drive your heels away from you. Yeah, that's it. Now as we engage into the quadriceps and press the heels away, try not to do it so forcefully that your hip flexors engage. That'll get easier in time, but oftentimes I notice we're so strong with this quad engagement that everything engages. See if you can just engage a little bit. Good, now press the backs of the knees down into the floor so that your heels lift up a little. Keep pulling your toes back towards your pubic bone. Continue to grow tall, chin in, crown to the sky. Find your gaze point, 5 feet on the floor in front of you, and breathe. Let's just focus now on holding that lower body positioning, as well as the spine, the gaze point, and the breath. Maybe your arms are out here supporting you. Okay, maybe they're here. Okay, just little stages of progression here. But keep kneecaps in. Keep pressing the backs of the knees strongly down. You're almost there. Give me another 15 seconds. Good. Push your heels out more so that we're creating space. Right now, stability at your lower spine. We haven't added the arms yet, so we're not creating as much space as we could. Good. Slowly relax your right leg, then your left leg. Let your legs roll in and out, maybe just rocking back on your arms a little bit. Bend your knees, and now let the legs go one at a time, side to side. Again, a good awareness point is, can you keep your pelvis anchored? So rather than letting that hip lift up here, not that this is incorrect, it's just not what I'm going for right now. I want your pelvis to stay stationary so your hip gets the release. One more time on each side, and then we're going to come back up into that same position. So plant your sit bones. Okay, find that leg position again. We'll just put it together in the same way, and then we'll add the arms. So roll the legs in and out 3 or 4 times. Internal rotation, make sure kneecaps rotate in, external rotation, they go out. The next time you're in internal rotation, hold. So kneecaps are in, maybe you use your hands to help you with that. Sit bones spread since we're in internal rotation of your hip. Good, begin to pull your toes back towards your pubic bone, and as you do that, straighten your legs and press the backs of the knees into the floor. Drive your heels away from you. Good. Bring your hands to your lower spine. Make sure your lower spine is straight. No arch, okay? No flexion, it's straight. Press the backs of the knees down, reach the crown up, chin in. Take your arms straight in front of you. Find your external rotation, extend your wrists. We did this in the last ELDOA. Chin is in. Good, imagine my hand is on your crown. I'm gonna ask you to lift my hand with your posture. Now keep your kneecaps rolling in. Can you pull your big toes back towards you more? Can you push your heels and your palms away from you more? Good. Now we're gonna lift the arms, but before we do that, I want you to drop your gaze point down to the floor about 5 feet in front of you. And with an inhalation, you're gonna lift the world up with those arms. Not shrugging your shoulders, spread your shoulder blades. That's it. Keep your chin tucking back in towards the Adam's apple without dropping the head down. Just retract back. Eyes go down, but head does not. Breathe. Okay, find your breath. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. Breathe in through your nose, make your exhale 1 second longer. Yes, breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your nose. Keep that exhale just slightly longer than your inhale. And now I want you to work the rest of the posture again. Root and spread your sit bones. Okay, straight spine and rise up. Lift the clouds with your palms and with your crown, but keep your chin in, eyes down, and open is important. Kneecaps in, big toes in, but then pull the big toes back towards your pubic bone and push your heels as strongly away from you as you can. Take 3 more breaths. Here's where it really works, you guys. Breathe here. Inhale through the nose, slower exhale, get taller. Into your nose, slower exhale, push the floor down with your sit bones and your knees. 1 more time, do it all. Now we gotta release slowly, that's important. So release your legs slowly. Relax your arms, maintain your spine, come on. Bring your hands to the backs of the knees, bring the soles of the feet, bring your legs into a cross position, hands on your knees. Now relax your spine, strong posterior tilt, take it into flexion. Inhale, open, find extension. One more time, drop your chin to your chest, find flexion. Inhale, find extension. Come to neutral, right hand to the floor, take a side bend over to your right, add the rotation of your rib cage forward, and then open it back up, allowing that arm to stretch back towards the wall behind you. Do that one more time, rolling the rib cage forward. Can you stretch out through that left arm even more now, so that we begin to create even more of that Chinese finger trap tension? Roll your left rib cage back, stretch your arm way back. Be aware of that strong right arm rooting down. Keep that arm circling down towards the floor, bring yourself back up, lengthen as you pass through center. Take a side bend to the other side. Right hip is your anchor. We reach out through the right fingertips. Exhale, slowly roll that rib cage forward. And then inhale, open up. As you open up, keep your chin in and turn the ribs and the chest. Arm reaches back. One more time. Exhale, rolling forward. Stretch out through that right arm even more now. Breathe. And then last time, we open up, we turn the rib cage, the arm reaches back behind us and it circles around, big circles. And then we bring an arm up, we lengthen, arms come back into T position, take a tree hugger. As you exhale, inhale, open up one more time. Press your breastbone forward, shoulder blades pinch back a little bit, and one more tree hugger. And coming back up, we're going to bring ourselves to the wall for L5S1 ELDOA to bring this practice together. So you're going to bring your mat to the wall, like so. I'm going to go ahead and get you set up, and then we'll end with a little breathing practice. So as we move into the L5S1 ELDOA, your legs are going to be off the wall. It's going to, all the actions are the same as what you just did in seated. The only change is that your legs are closer together and you're on your back now instead of seated, so you have a much, I think, better awareness of your spine in space. Make sure that as you iron your spine out along the floor, that the whole thing, from your sacrum and your pockets, your whole lower back, the base of your rib cage, your bra strap area, your shoulder blades, all the way up to the tops of the shoulder blades, we want that flat on the floor. And then we retract the chin and press the crown of the head away. Just the nature of our build, our neck will not be elongated flat along the floor, but the curves of the spine are lengthened out to create that tensioning effect, okay, that makes this work so powerful in healing. So let's go ahead, if you're not already in position, bring your hip into the wall, then roll onto your back. Sit bones plug into the wall like they're prongs plugging into an outlet. You can spread the sit bones. Maybe you place your fingers between your sit bones and the wall to pin them. Keeping the sit bones spreading, do a little anterior and posterior tilt and see if you can flatten that sacrum and both back pockets into the floor firmly. From that position, okay, lower back on the floor, bottom back ribs, bra strap area, all the way up to the tops of the shoulder blades as I showed you. Find a gaze point that's right between your feet. Maintain that with your breath. So we've just got your pelvis in place and your spine, your gaze point, your breath. That does not change. Maintaining that, let's practice the legs. Stretch your heels up to the sky, more narrow than before. So we're gonna have our heels about in line with sit bones. Relax your ankles, but roll your legs into internal rotation, external rotation a few times. Can you keep your sit bones on the wall here as you move from internal rotation to external rotation? Okay, so we already did this in seated, but maybe this provides a little better awareness for you. So if it does, practice this way instead. The next time you're in internal rotation, your kneecaps need to point in. We're not just watching the feet. It's important that kneecaps go in. Okay, sit bones still plugged into the wall, sacrum plugged into the floor. Now we drive the heels as far away from the floor as we can, but keep plugging your pockets down. Pull your big toes down. Push your heels up.
Pull your sacrum down, push your heels up. Check in with your spine. Is your whole lower back still on the floor? What about your bra strap area? Shoulder blades. Is your chin down? You still maintaining your gaze point? Good. Now press on the top of your head. Move the crown of the head further away from the wall, but then plug your sit bones in more firmly and breathe. In through your nose, out through your nose. Let your breath be relaxed and gentle. Let your exhale be 1 second longer than your inhale, and that's where I want you to really get longer. That's it. One more breath. Relax your legs. Relax your spine. Take a couple breaths before we put it together with the arms. Find your breath. Quiet it down. Slow your exhale down. Calm the brain a little bit. Relax through the belly. All right, so stay with that breath. Let's do it one more time, adding arms. Plant your sacrum down, plug your sit bones into the wall. Find the rest of your spine elongated along the floor, reaching all the way through the crown, eyes towards the wall. So we've got spine, we've got pelvis, spine, gaze point, breath. Find legs, drive your heels up as your legs move into internal rotation. Pull the toes down, push the heels up. Root your sacrum down, push your heels up. Pull your toes down, reach your heels up. Notice the balance of those actions. Breathe. Now press the backs of the knees into the wall. Press the crown of the weight away from the wall. Maintaining your gaze point, take your arms up to the sky. Find your external rotation of your shoulder. Extend your wrist. And then imagine you're holding a really heavy boulder in both arms, or a giant log. You're going to inhale and push that boulder all the way overhead, like you're just holding it above your head. You don't want it to fall on you. Yes, now use your strength to press those palms away, but also continue reaching the crown of the head away from the wall. Plug those sit bones back into the wall again. Drive your heels to the ceiling. Breathe. Maximum effort here. You got to work for this, but it's worth it. I promise. We're almost there. Pull your toes down, drive your heels up. Pull your toes and your sacrum down, but drive your heels up. That's it. Now press the backs and knees into the wall. Press the palms and the crown away from the wall. Last 15 seconds. Here's where the magic really happens. You guys stay with me and breathe. Find your pelvis, your pockets, root them. Drive your heels up. Yes, good. Now crown of the head and palms away from the wall. One more breath, and now slowly exhale. Relax one leg and the other leg. Relax one arm, the other arm. Relax the spine. Bring yourself into a comfortable position. Maybe that's here with legs together. Some of you might like this, just legs wide. This is really nice for releasing pelvic floor and sit bone area. Or maybe you're just ready to push away from the wall. In that case, you can shimmy away from the wall and just rest with your feet on the wall or feet on the floor. Okay, this is also a nice variation. Feet wide and knees relaxing in. Sacrum is flat. If you're feeling any tension in your lower back, just pull those knees into chest, flatten your spine into the floor. Close your eyes, find your breath. Just holding here. Let's spend 2 more minutes to balance out that practice. So breathing in and out through your nose. Relax any tension around your jaw, your face, and your shoulders. Relax the palms of your hands. Relax the soles of your feet. With your next exhalation, allow the tension to drip out of your body, forming a puddle on the floor. Just allow the earth to receive it. Feel yourself get lighter with each breath as you release even more tension with your exhalations. Can you make your breath a little quieter? Move it so gently that you can barely hear it or feel it moving out of your nostrils.
Continue to relax through your jaw, your face, your shoulders. And now find a little more length to your exhale. Just tug the exhale out, just make it a second longer. We do that without creating tension. Without straining to elongate the exhale. Don't work that yet. Continue to work instead the sound and the lightness of your breath. We cannot rush these stages with breathing. And now that you've found a little more ease around the breath, maybe a little more length to your exhale, follow your exhale to the end. Make sure there's a pause there. It's not a long pause. Make sure it's there, because that is the third component to a natural breath. And so allow yourself the opportunity to settle in with your breath now. I encourage you to take a couple more minutes to just lie here and practice this act of gentle breathing. It's something that I find as humans we've become disconnected from. And the way that we breathe sets the tone or the energy of the body. So I encourage you as you move into the rest of your day from here to bring awareness to your breath. Notice what your energy is like, your mind state. Just as you use the rest of this ELDOA practice to bring awareness to your posture and your movement, link this last very important component in as well. So take that with you into the rest of your day, a nice strong posture and easeful breath. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for joining me today. Be well. If you have any questions, problems, challenges with this practice, please reach out so we can fix it. All right, we'll see you guys next time.